Hey guys, Sean here at the Gardener Center. So last time I had a little show and tell with you guys with some plant samples that I was hanging on to that customers were bringing by for us to look at. And I'm going to continue that again this week. I mean, we're a good week and a half into July already. We've had a couple of hot, humid weather spells behind us already, and problems are still rolling in, and a lot of times as the summer gets hotter, those problems get even worse, and they change and turn into different problems. So this week I'm going to share some more customer samples. I talked last time about an insect pest on hydrangeas, and I'm going to share some other hydrangea problems this week. And I have no problem talking about hydrangeas 2 weeks in a row, because almost everyone has a hydrangea in their yard. So I'm going to share some more hydrangea problems this week. Only this time it's not an insect, it's a disease problem, and then a cultural issue that hydrangeas have in the summertime. And then I have another bug that I'm going to talk about who looks like a bad guy, and he kind of is, but not really. So I'm going to talk about him a little bit. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So first sample out of the jar today. We probably get more questions about this than like everything else combined during the summertime here, especially in July and August at the Gardener Center. This is a big leaf hydrangea, mophead hydrangea, French hydrangea. The guys you typically think of with the hydrangeas with the big blue or pink flowers. And this hydrangea has a great case of cercospora leaf spot going on it here. This is a really common thing to see on hydrangeas midsummer, particularly if you have an irrigation system. A lot of times hydrangeas that are being hand watered, or hydrangeas that are getting watered with soaker hoses, or with an irrigation system that sprays below the plant but not on the foliage, a lot of times you won't have any trouble with this. This is brought on by irrigation. It could also be brought on by a couple of days in a row of rain. This is a disease, it's a fungal disease. It's very easy to identify, and again, it's cercospora leaf spot, but they are these purpley, bronzy brown polka dots on the leaves. A lot of times, like you see here, they'll actually go all the way through, and you'll get a hole in the leaf. But it's really these purple spots that indicate your cercospora. It's a fungal disease. Once it's there, it's there. There's nothing you can spray that's going to make the spots disappear. And we talked a little bit last week too about the powdery mildew not being necessarily lethal or fatal to plants, and the same is true of the cercospora leaf spot. It looks terrible, and if you allow it to really get out of control on your hydrangeas, it will eventually cause the plant to defoliate. It's definitely going to detract energy from your hydrangeas blooming, from your hydrangeas blooms. So you definitely want to control it, but once again, easy to prevent, not so easy to get rid of once it's there. So if you have hydrangeas every year that get cercospora leaf spot, number one, you might want to rethink the way you're watering them. If you have sprinklers that are spraying the foliage every night, you're going to get this. So that might be one thing that you do, is find a different way to water them. Number two, I talked last week about the this Bonide Revitalize product. This is the fungicide that you can pour in the root zone of the plant. This is a great thing to use on your mophead hydrangeas if you get cercospora as a drench. But here's the secret and the key to success. You don't want to wait until you have this. If you get this every year around the 4th of July, the beginning of July there, start using this as a drench on your hydrangeas in early to mid-June, a couple weeks before this normally appears. You could also use it as a foliar spray after the cercospora appears, but that's only going to prevent it from getting on new foliage. It's not going to get rid of what's already there. So cercospora leaf spot on your mophead hydrangeas, love the Bonide Revitalize for that. Also the copper fungicide works well too, but I really like this organic product over here. It works really well. So cercospora. Another issue that hydrangeas get at this time of year that people often think is a disease, but it is not. Second sample out of the jar here. This is leaf scorch. This is an entirely different thing. So I have leaf scorch here on the foliage, of course. And then this is another example of it over here on the flowers. And if you guys have these hydrangeas growing in your yard in a sunny spot, you've seen them wilted midday before. Even sometimes, no matter how much water you put on them, they wilt. This is when, and most times they bounce out of that. This is caused when they go a little too far. When they get wilted and they go a little too long without getting water, you'll start getting the brown crispy edges like that. And then of course the flowers are really delicate, so they're the first thing to get damaged even before the leaves. So again, you know, we've talked about hydrangeas before. Best in a morning sun situation, and then like noon on in the shade or noon on peekaboo sun sort of thing is fine. But plenty of water, and if you see them wilted, you know, correct that right away, because if you don't, that's when you're going to get the damage in your flowers. They'll be the first to go. So 2 really common hydrangea problems at this time of year. I'm going to be right back to talk about a really cool bug, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so this picture is of an interesting little bug called not the most imaginative name in the world, honestly, but this guy is called the red milkweed beetle, and that is in fact exactly what he is. Not to be confused with the equally unimaginative red lily beetle. They are 2 completely different things, but this guy, you guys, if you grow lilies, you probably know about the red lily beetle already. I haven't seen any yet this year, but I'm sure we will. This guy is the red milkweed beetle, and he is in fact very specific to milkweed. So if you're growing milkweed for the monarchs, you have probably seen plenty of those little orange aphids, and you probably stumbled upon a few of these guys as well. They eat milkweed. They're herbivores. They eat milkweed almost exclusively. A lot of people don't like them on the milkweed because they have also been known to be a bit of scavengers at times, and they can potentially eat monarch eggs and monarch larvae. Primarily they eat the milkweed itself though, and it's actually really cool. These guys, you know, nature is so amazing. These guys eat the foliage of the milkweed, and their grub form, their larval form, actually live in the roots of the milkweed and eat the milkweed roots. They're so important to the milkweed ecosystem. That's why I'm going to kind of encourage you to not hurt them and just let them be. They actually are very important in preventing milkweed from taking over the world. I mean, milkweed is such an aggressive grower in the right spots. And you know, nature has checks and balances for everything. And you know, these red milkweed beetles, they're grubs. They kind of keep things from getting out of control. If they're in your garden on your milkweed, you know, let them be. They're so cool when they eat. They're so smart. So when they're feeding on the foliage, they actually go upstream on the leaf vein of the plant, and they sever it, so that while they're eating, they don't get that latex, you know, the white milky latex that comes out of the milkweed. They actually sever the line for that latex before they start feeding, so their little mouths don't get glued shut. So they're clever little things, and there's always going to be a few poking around and eating your milkweed, but think about it, you're letting the caterpillars eat the milkweed anyway. So let the beetles stay. They're just part of this, you know, this wonderful world we live in, and they're so important to that whole milkweed ecosystem. So red milkweed beetles, leave them alone, and guys, I'll see you next time.